Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family, we chose this one. It's episode 196, F9, Fourth Gear. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too, and this episode's brought to you by Jacob, #1 in tubing systems. That's jacob-tubing.com. There's a system behind what Jacob does, top quality standards, outstanding innovative spirit, and an uncompromising choice of materials. If you need to vent gases from your underground lair, check out Jacob's Tubing.
Well, shout out to Jacob's Tubing and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. After the break, we'll be talking about F9 for the fourth time with Nico and Kevo. But Joe, extracurricular activities, what have you been up to since we last spoke?
Actually, kind of a bit for, nothing. One was yesterday, it was $5 movie day. It was Tuesday. And we went to go see Old.
Okay.
I don't know if you've been told, but there's a beach that makes you old.
There is.
It was like you said, man, it was a lot of fun. Like, it wasn't anything crazy. You don't have to rush out to go see it, but, we really enjoyed it. It was fun. And for a $5 movie day in the theater, I was like, this is cool.
Cool.
Love Island finished, so that means, I will be...
Have you watched F-Boy Island yet on HBO Max?
No, we watched one episode, and then I paused, because Love Island's on... I told you this, that Love Island's on, 5 or 6 nights a week. It's on.
The only reason I bring it up is because F-Boy Island today just got renewed for season 2, and I told you about that because I like Nikki Glaser.
Yes.
I mean, I'm never going to watch that show.
Yes.
But I like Nikki Glaser, and I figured it's the kind of show you would watch. I just saw it got renewed an hour ago for season 2. So
cool. No, we watched the first
Island.
episode. It looks very juicy. One episode was good. I planned to watch it, but I wanted Love Island to finish, and it did. And there was this couple that I really hated on Love Island that was super essentially a third grade couple. They would just sit down with each other and be like, we're so happy to be in this relationship, all day every day, but never actually say anything of meaning to each other.
Okay.
It would just be like, oh man, I'm having such a good time with you, but they weren't doing anything and they weren't talking about anything. They would just say this on loop to each other. It was really weird. That's over. I watched the first episode of Marvel's What If, and that was pretty cool.
Episode 2 is out today. I like the first episode of What If more than any of the other series that they've done so far.
I don't
tenfold.
think that's not my opinion on this. I don't mind it. I like it because it's new content. I do like that they can get kind of wacky with the animation, which is something we talk about a lot, with Spy Racers and stuff. You just have a lot more available to you, right? When you can animate everything, anything can happen.
Right.
The ideas are cool, but it's something fun to kill time. So I enjoyed it.
So you didn't really like it sounds like.
No. It's cool and fun, but
because you're the kind of guy who's my Captain America's a man.
No, not at all. That has nothing to do with it. It was just oh, this is a cool, fun idea, but one episode of a fun idea is okay, cool.
Well, episode 2 is What If T'Challa was Star-Lord.
That sounds very interesting. The thing that I like about Marvel is it's one long story, right?
Well, so what I like about this explicitly is that it's not that.
I know.
And that's the issue that I've been having with the other stuff, that you're okay with waiting, and I'm just this is never going to connect. This is just what this is, and I love that about it.
And that's fair. And if you feel that way, that's great. The thing that I do love about Marvel is it's just all one long-ass story with different pieces. That's the part of the enjoyment of it for me. So in that sense, that's why I'm but I get the whole multiverse thing, and it's fun to think about these different things, and it's cool that they're giving that these are thoughts, and they sound like stoned arguments you'd have with your friends. What if Captain America was not from America, and you're oh fuck, this kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it's largely adaptations of comics that existed.
Yeah.
Although, so one thing I did learn from X's for Podcast, Nico's podcast about the X-Men comics, is that there's a Captain Britain too, and there's a whole spinoff there. And so one thing I saw was why couldn't Peggy just be Captain Britain? She basically is playing kind of Captain Britain. She's Captain America, but with the British look. I don't know, but I loved it. I thought it was, I was very into it.
Cool. Yeah, that's something that if you like Marvel stuff, it's an interesting watch. Rachel and I are going to watch the next one. I like the ideas of them, but in practice, also animation. I'm not a big animation guy, but I'm so conditioned to watch live action Marvel shit now that animated stuff I'm eh. Into the Spider-Verse I love, but these I'm oh, okay.
You love cars more than Fast and Furious.
cars like Lightning
Ka-chow.
McQueen, Ka-chow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They actually just put out yesterday a trailer, yesterday as we're recording this, called for this thing called Star Wars Visions, which is basically a Japanese take on Star Wars, and it's like
Ooh.
anime, like Miyazaki
I
kind of
saw your
style, and
tweet.
it
Yeah.
looks awesome. It looks so good.
That sounds fun. I bet it probably is really fun.
And there are two versions of the trailer. There is the dubbed version, which I'm sure you will watch if you watch the trailer. And there's a subbed, or no, there's a sub version. Yeah, subbed and dubbed. Yeah, and you will watch dubbed, and I watch the sub because I don't think the other one was out when I saw this. But I was just like, what is this? Like, ooh,
Always dubs.
This looks
Dubs.
great.
Well, I mean, in classic things. Nowadays, I'd prefer subs. Like if something's coming out now, but dubs are a blast. And last thing that I've been up to was, the whole saga of this, but for the past couple weeks, my dishwasher has been a pain in the dick. There was water pooled in the bottom of my dishwasher, so like we took it all apart, we cleaned everything, didn't work. Unclogged it and like flushed it, and we were like, okay, cool, we probably fixed it. I mean, like we took everything, like we pulled it out from the wall, disconnected all the water tubes, just everything, cleaned every possible thing we could think of. We're like, okay, cool, we fixed it, we put it back in, we run the dishwasher, nothing got clean. So we're like, what the fuck? And so like we like did some more stuff, same shit. So we bought a new dishwasher. It came today. We installed it, and I'm running the first load now. But it's really cool and like super fucking quiet compared to my other one that like I can't hear it, but it just has like, it's a Samsung one, so it has like the little blue light that like shines on the countertop, and I can see that on, but like I can't hear it, and it's really freaking me out. That's the last of the things I was up to, and I will have some cool stuff next week for sure. But that's what I've been up to. What about you, brother?
Cool. I have basically like exclusively been watching movies. I
Cool.
finally in the Bond update, because I've been watching those for like 6 months, and I
Yeah.
feel like that's maybe a slight exaggeration, but also not really an exaggeration. Like I think it's there's like 25 of them. I've been doing one a week.
Yeah.
I am finally into the Daniel Craig ones. Thank God. And Casino Royale rules, and Quantum of Solace is great. And I have two more because I watched two of those this week. Because I don't have you. I'm sure you have seen those or whatever. But you remember that like Quantum of Solace takes place immediately following Casino Royale.
There's one of them that Rachel tried to get me to watch, and like I watched Casino Royale drunk in a theater in New York City when it came out. And I remember being like, "Oh, this was really awesome," but we were wasted. And like Quantum of Solace, I think was the one that Rachel was like, "This is an awesome movie," and she kept trying to show me, and like I kept falling asleep or something during it.
Well, so there are two of the four. So I think, and I might have this wrong because I'm not super strong on the Bond history, but I think everybody pretty much loves Casino Royale.
Yeah.
And people love Skyfall. And then
Oh, maybe it
Quantum of
was
Solace.
Skyfall, yeah.
Quantum of Solace is one that people are low on, and then Spectre is a real mixed opinion because they tried to do this like whole like connected, kind of like what Fast and Furious did, where it's just like, hey, everybody's working for Cypher. Like Spectre is like, hey, everything was actually connected to Blofeld again, and it's just like, well, I don't really care.
Yeah.
And that's what people. I haven't seen that one yet. I saw it once when it came out, but I didn't have the history or whatever. But yeah. So if it's one that was actually not good or lesser, it might have been either the second or the fourth one. But if it was the other like good one that she really loved, it was probably Skyfall.
I don't know, like the Daniel Craig ones, like they're just like very soothing to me, and they just like they like lull me to sleep. I get that that's not a common thing, but like the intros are like always like, and it's like the weird coloring that they use too. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's kind of like a bluish hue.
Well,
to
every
them.
movie's blue now. All movies are blue now.
Yeah, I guess it has like this like bluish hue that like just triggers my brain into being like asleep.
Well, they say yeah, blue. I mean, blue light is the medically is what's good for your brain for sleep, right? Or is it no? Is blue light bad? What does the blue light mode on iPhone do? Does it take blue out, or does it only make things blue? I think it takes blue out.
I think it takes blue out.
So you're in reverse, kind of. Blue is supposed to keep people awake, and you put blue to sleep.
Yeah, because I love like all like fluorescent lighting. Like Rachel would get really mad at me because like I like to buy like really blue light bulbs for the house because like I like very sterile lighting. But like I also work usually in like a hospital-ish setting, right?
Right.
So like my brain is conditioned to this, and like yellow lighting feels like kind of dirty to me.
Yeah.
Like it's just like too warm, and I want like sterile, clean feeling.
There is a feeling that I have of like just like remembering like the light of my childhood basically, and like it feels softer. Like everything now is LED, and it's harsher than in my brain, like the memory of like what light used to be like or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. It's like everything was like really warm and like very yellow. I want all blue sterile light everywhere in my house.
I get you. Yeah. So I have 2 more Bond movies, which is great. I was going to start after Bond because there's another podcast called With Gorley and Rust. So there was, and somebody wrote in about this. So James Bonding is a podcast that Matt Gorley hosts with Matt Myra, which we talked about, which I haven't listened to and I'm not going to. But Matt Gorley, who I love from a bunch of different podcasts, he and Paul Rust, who's an actor and a comedian, they have one that started with Friday the 13th movies, then they did Halloween, then they did Nightmare, and then Alien, and then just kind of like random stuff. And now they're doing shark movies. If you think our episodes are long, these are real long. Because I think like even James Bonding were super long too. But like these, like the first, this is also very, what we would do. But like their intro, like their, hey, we're just going to rank the movies and whatever, was 90 minutes. So like, well, it's going to be 15 minutes. It was 90 minutes. And then each of the episodes like 2.5 or whatever hour. Like they're long ass episodes.
Is it because they do a ton of research or they just bullshit?
No, they just talk. They just go slow. I think it's just one of those like, we're never going to talk about this movie again. Like, let's just make sure that we cover everything we want to do. And they do research, but it's not like, just them talking about the movies. So I was going to do the Friday the 13th and go from there after Bond. But I was just like, I don't have any other podcasts that I'm catching up on, and I kind of just really want to start watching these. So like, let me just start. So I watched the first one last week. I'm gonna watch the second one.
What, that's Friday the 13th?
Yes, because so Wednesdays are a very long day because we record usually for 2.5 hours, and then I also do the crossword puzzle, 2 crossword puzzles with a friend of the show, Melissa Lynham, every Wednesday night. We do Wednesday puzzle and Thursday puzzle, and so I'm just drained on Wednesdays. And I'm like, what can I do on Wednesdays? Because I want to watch like a movie or whatever, just like sort of like turn my brain. I'm like, oh, like a horror movie, even if one I haven't seen, it's not like it requires, like it's not like subtitled or like a new release or an art film. I'm just like, this is kind of, so I'm now doing those. I'm like, oh, I don't have a thing, like I don't have a movie to watch on Wednesdays, so I'm gonna watch the Friday. So I'm watching part 2 tonight.
Cool.
So I'm gonna work my way through those. We also, in terms of movies, we did an episode of Zack Attack, you and I.
We did.
Last week. We did the new release 15 months ago, Scoob, the Scooby-Doo adaptation.
Which is animated.
So, yes. The way that I described it on our Twitter, on Too Fast, Too Forever, is instead of having cute boy talk in your Fast and Furious, it's just Fast and Furious talk in your cute boy talk.
Which is essentially what it was, yeah.
Yeah. It's so much Fast and Furious talk and comparisons and everything like that. Just like we didn't want to, it's hard not to, right?
It's hard to turn your brain off of it, yeah. Unless like we go on tangents about light bulbs, pretty much I'm always thinking about Fast and the Furious when I'm talking to you here. So.
Right. So hopefully, people from over there come over here if you want more. Because again, the same pitch we made over there, we'll make here. It's the same show. It's a different movie. It's the same show. So if you want just more of us, there's another episode that we did last week of Scoob over on the Zack Attack episode feed. So go do that. And then I watched a ton of new releases. So there is a new weekly, not short, but like an hour. The first one was like 70 minutes. There's a second one out today or yesterday. The series called Untold. It's kind of like 30 for 30, I think, but it's on Netflix. And last week's was called Malice at the Palace. And it was about the fight between the Pistons and the Pacers.
Yeah, I just saw this and I told, Rachel doesn't really have a lot of sports context into this stuff, but I'm like, whenever we start watching The Last Dance or anything like that, she always gets really into it. So I was like, oh, we should check this out. So you watch the Malice at the Palace one?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's an ongoing thing. It's just like a one-off. And there's a new one that's about, I think, a female boxer, maybe. I think there's going to be 5 in total. I haven't watched the new one yet, but this one is great. It's really, really good. It's one of those things that, even if you're if you're not a sports fan, you might have heard about it because I think it goes everywhere. But if you're at all a sports fan, even if you're not a basketball fan, you will remember where you were because it was crazy.
Yeah.
And this really kind of changes sort of the perception of what actually happened. And it does what The Last Dance did, where it's setting up that night through the Pacers and Reggie Miller and then building what was going to be probably a championship winning team.
Yeah.
And then this night happened.
Yeah.
And it's really, really good. So if you care about sports or basketball or just documentaries, and you don't mind sports documentaries, on Netflix, the series called Untold and Malice at the Palace is great.
Cool. That makes me want to watch it more.
Yes,
cool.
Definitely watch it. Then on Saturday, I went to the theaters and I saw 2 new movies. I saw Free Guy, which I will happy to report is fun. So I watched Free Guy at home, and then that night I watched Space Jam: A New Legacy, and they're both video game movies.
Okay, yeah, because Space Jam, well, I haven't seen Free Guy, but I saw Space Jam, and yeah, it's a new Space Jam, but essentially built around a video game.
Well, because it's, LeBron's son codes a basketball video game where it's not quote-unquote real basketball, and LeBron gets mad because he wants his son to be a basketball player, not a coder or whatever, but it's also not quote-unquote real basketball. And then they play the game in the game, right? So that and Free Guy are very, very similar in that they're IP crossovers. I can see why people hate it. and I don't care. It's fun.
What?
It's just enjoyable.
I can't see why people hate it. Like, what is
I don't know
about it?
So I will put him on blast because he doesn't listen to these shows. But Mike Manzi said like Space Jam 2 was like an unwatchable mess, like an IP extravaganza. And I'm like, how do you not love seeing like Granny as Trinity in the Matrix? Like, it's so dumb and weird. It's cool.
And like A Clockwork Orange in the background, and like Harry Potter, and like all this stuff. It's like, it's not like they were in the forefront of the movie. They just like come through in passing so quickly. It's like, oh, that's a cool thing, and then you just keep going.
Like when I was a kid and I had like way too many action figures, like what I would do is that they would all just get together in like a big battle, right? And everything together. Like, this is exactly what like 9-year-old me would love. Like, oh, all of my favorite movies in one movie. Yeah, absolutely.
And then they play basketball with LeBron James. And you're like, what the fuck? This is
my favorite basketball player of all time. Like, it's like, why would I not love this? And like, it's not really an original movie because it's basically the same as Space Jam 1, but who cares?
Yes.
It's
what
fun.
Do you expect? That's what I was trying to say. I was like, if like I had to write a new Space Jam, I couldn't write anything better than that. Like, that's it. Like, it's like a little bit new, a little bit technology. You get LeBron James instead, like, and it's the same movie.
Yep.
That's
it's crazy. And so Free Guy, there is a thing at the end, because Free Guy was made by Fox before Fox was bought by Disney. And then Disney bought Fox, and I think because it got delayed 4 times due to the pandemic and other stuff and whatever. And so there's a thing that happens at the end that's a crossover that is either, like, I think is really cool, but I've seen like allusions to it where just like, here's how that happened, or people don't like this one thing. I'm just like, because it feels like a thing that would happen in like Fortnite. Like there's a thing that happens and it's like, oh, of course, like that's just crossover things, like synergy and whatever.
Yep.
I don't mind that. There's also like a ton of like, I think if you're not like super like, because that's really about video games, because like it's and Ryan Reynolds is an NPC, a non-playable character who realizes he's in the game, right? Because Jodie Comer, who plays Villanelle on Killing Eve, and she's amazing on that show, is this, they call the sunglass people, because they're like, that's how you like see the world. And so she comes in and they kind of like, she's his dream girl. And so she kind of like snaps him into reality, whatever. It's a whole thing.
Gets him out of the Matrix,
But there's a thing going on behind the scenes there and everything. It's fun. Like, it's not a great movie, but if you like Space Jam, you're gonna like this. If you like video game movies, there's also a lot of Twitch streamers like Ninja's in there and Pokimane, she's in there too, and like
that's cool.
There's a bunch of people like doing like real commentary on like, because this is like a global sensation or whatever. But I will say, I'm not going to spoil the big one, because there's one that, like, there's a bunch of cameos in this movie. There's one that's really more than a cameo. Like, there's one that's kind of like a small part that is of particular note to you and me, which I will not spoil for you. But apparently somewhere also, The Rock is in the movie, that Ryan Reynolds, like, pulled a lot of strings to get these cameos. These characters all play avatars, so it's like you see like a dumpy kid or like a little girl or whatever, and they're actually just playing like this huge muscle-bound whatever, right?
Obviously.
And like
Yeah,
Jodie Comer from
ever.
Killing Eve plays herself, right? It's Jumanji, right? Like it's exactly, it's oh my god, I'm
it's
a girl.
Jumanji, Ready Player One, whatever you want to do, all
exactly.
Yep.
One of them, you see somebody who is of particular note to us, which I will not go further because that sort of narrows it down, but you'll see when you see it. Like, you see him very early in the movie, and I'm like, oh, that's a cool cameo or whatever. And then he comes back in a way, and I'm like, oh, this is amazing. And, like, that was super cool. But then, so there's, like, a handful of cameos, and I don't know where The Rock is, but he's credited on IMDb just as Avatar. So I'm sure he's just, like, a sunglass guy that you see like rob a bank, because like Ryan Reynolds' character in the movie is a bank teller, and his bank, because it's basically based on Grand Theft Auto Online. So like there are missions where like rob this bank or whatever, and so like every day or 3 times a day or 4 times a day or whatever, the bank gets robbed. And so I think The Rock is probably like in a scene, and I knew he was in it because I'd seen his name, but I didn't see him because he's probably on screen for like a second. But there's one that is like, this is so cool. Like, it's amazing. So, again, Free Guy, not going to win Oscars, but it's fun. And if you don't like it, who gives a shit? Like,
I
just
love
watch
fun movies, man. I'm the one who's always, like, pitching that there's movies that are just fun. Like, if you turn your brain off, there's a lot of, like, movies that, nowadays, we said, like, movies are made so much better nowadays. Like, a lot of them, like, even, like, bad ones, are a lot better than the shit we used to get. So, just, like, they're pretty fun. So
I will say your next $5 movie night, if you want to go, I would say see Free Guy, because I think you guys will like it, and there's something in particular that you'll really like about it.
I'm definitely gonna watch it. I don't know if it'll be because what else is out? Like, Don't Breathe 2 is coming.
Yeah, which
out.
I also saw. I didn't like the first one. I don't exactly know why I saw. I mean, I know why I saw the second one. I have reasons. I don't need to explain it here. They're not good reasons, but I saw it. it's hard to root for literally anyone in this movie.
Yeah.
And I don't know who you're supposed to root for. Because, like, you saw the first Don't Breathe. Is that right?
Yeah.
So spoilers for Don't Breathe, the first one, if you have not seen it yet. You know how, like, they rob this guy's house, and you're like, this guy's a victim. He's an old blind man, whatever.
Yeah.
And then you find out his basement is a torture dungeon where he's raping young women to, like, grow children that he can, like, have or whatever, right? Like, it's like this completely fucked up thing. It's like, oh my God, fuck this guy or whatever, right?
Yeah.
That guy is the hero of the second movie.
Hey! Spoilers!
No. He's the central character. Like, he's on every poster. He's just, like, the movie follows him. Like, it's not a surprise. Like, it's just, like, he has a young girl with him, and then, like, people come. It's like the sins of his past are following. Like, but the movie is about him as the protagonist. I'm like, no. I don't want to root for him because I know what he did. And then you're not supposed to root for the bad guys because they're bad guys, but you're also supposed to root for them because, like, they're killing. But, like, I'm like, this is so fucking dumb.
I literally know what you did last summer.
But it's also not tied at all to the first movie.
Oh, so, interesting.
Like, the first movie, yeah, that's why it's so dumb. Don't Breathe 2. It's bad. It's better in some ways because it's less icky in certain ways.
Yeah.
And there's kind of good action and stuff, but, like, it's
there's
bad.
that, and there's, like, Escape Room 2 coming out.
Yeah, I mean, those are the kind of movies, like, if you're going to see them, fine. Don't see them in theaters. Just wait for them to be, like, on HBO Max or something.
These are, like, the best $5. Like, Unfriended is, like, one of my favorite, like,
well, I only
movie.
watch Unfriended on laptops. I will only watch those on MacBooks.
Right. Yeah.
Because I think that's how they're meant to be seen. Like, I saw Searching on a big screen. Like, it all takes place on the MacBook. I'm like, this is dumb. I want to watch this on my laptop. So,
makes sense. I get it.
Don't Breathe 2 is bad. Free Guy, a blast. So I would say see Free Guy. And then this week there's a couple, like, terribly titled movies that, like, I want to see. Like, Reminiscence. It seems okay.
That's the fucking Strange Days remake.
Yes.
It's just Strange Days, but with Hugh Jackman, and he's all over the fucking morning news. Whenever I turn on whatever one I forget, Rachel always yells at me because I say the wrong one, but like Good Morning America, USA, whatever one I watch is. He was all over the TV this morning pitching Reminiscence again.
So that's out, which is a terrible title. The Protege, the Maggie Q action movie's coming out. That's a terrible title. And there's a third movie that's, like, also a terrible title. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm going to see at some point, right? Like, probably.
Yeah, I'm going to see Reminiscence because it's Strange Days. So, yeah, sure.
Get better titles, I guess. I mean, Free Guy. So Free Guy is also apparently, like, it used to be, like, it's old slang for, like, a one-up. It's like, oh, I got a free guy or whatever. But, like, it's nobody calls that anymore. It's just, it's whatever. But see the movie. I liked it. So thank you to Ryan Reynolds, to Locke himself.
Yeah. I guess you kind of unlocked that in my brain. I don't know.
Oh, I didn't catch it. I read a thing that was just like, this is like antiquated, like bad slang or something. Not bad slang, but just like. What did we
used to say when you get like another, like you got another guy, another life, just like another free life, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Another Mario. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, did I do anything else of actual note? I've literally just been watching things.
That's cool.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Nice.
We have a Patreon page, toofast2forever.com. Shout out to Cassie Wilson, Jake Freer, Ben Milliman, Nick Burris, Alex Ellen, and Justin Kleiman, Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party, Haley Gerbies, Wes Hampton, Christian Larson, Jerry Robinson, Dan the Duke Hayden, Renato DiDonato, Michael McGann, and Jessica Collins, a.k.a. Montez. Thank you all so much for supporting us at the $5 a month level or above. If you want to get bonus episodes, early access, undying love and affection, anything you want, anything your heart desires, toofast2forever.com, please and thank you.
Yes, thank you.
We have an email address, family@cageclub.me. We got 2 emails today, Joe, both from Jenny. So she's not written in about
awesome.
Zack Attack, I don't think, but
what?
She sends in 2 emails here.
What a surprise.
One of these has a multimedia component, which I'm going to send to you right now on Facebook. Subject line, Close Encounters. Hi, guys. Just want to share a picture with you. I ran into The Rock today. He was just standing on the corner in Applebee, so I asked my mom to take a picture of us. Guess he's hawking tequila now. Later, Jenny.
Oh, so it's Jenny with like a nice big cardboard cutout of The Rock. That's cool. Yes.
And someone truly disrespected him by blacking out one of his teeth.
Yeah, making it look like he got a missing tooth there. What is that about, guys? He still looks handsome, though.
I mean,
I have a feeling, Jenny, I have a feeling in real life that you're not almost as tall as The Rock.
I was saying she's going toe to toe with a great one. You know, what's that on Nate's thing? Also, happy birthday to Nate Milton. Nate just had a birthday recently.
Happy birthday, Nate.
Toe to toe with a great one, right? Yeah, like Jenny, like, you know, she's almost as tall as him here, and, you know, I would be intimidated. She's, you know, especially with the blacked out tooth, you could think that Jenny knocked his tooth out, you know what I mean? So
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, very cool find. Thank you for
Very
that, Jenny.
cool
I have a
find.
picture of
Thank
me
you.
and Danny DeVito hawking his alcohol at a restaurant in
One
DC.
time,
So,
we got a giant Gordon Ramsay from like one of these places and like brought
ooh,
it home for my dad. Like we were like, "Can we have this thing?" Like my dad loves Gordon Ramsay, and the lady was like, "Yeah, we just throw them away." So like, if you
cool.
ever see one of these things and you're like, "I kind of want that," like if nobody else at the store like called dibs on it, they'll just give
Yep.
it to you. So
Yeah.
whenever like the promo's done or like whenever they get rid of it, they're just like, "Yeah,
Right.
whatever, fuck it, take it."
Usually at movie theaters, though, like those things all get claimed by because it's all movie nerds, whatever. Like
Exactly.
they're all
Yeah.
like I would love. I mean, I don't know where I would put it, but like I would love like a huge F9 like IMAX poster, like one of those big
Oh, of
cardboard cutouts.
course.
But like those are all like easily claimed. But yeah, the standoff like just out of like a waitress isn't gonna want this fucking cut out of the rock.
Liquor
Like
store, like the dude at
yeah,
the liquor store, he doesn't want to put this anywhere in his house or something. Yeah.
exactly. And the other email Jenny sent in is subject line food all over the place.
Hi,
Hi guys,
Jenny.
just finished lunch. Previously frozen coconut curry chicken bland, but I tried it. When I looked down at my shirt and said, "Oh my god, food all over the place." That phrase just popped out of nowhere. It wasn't really all over the place, just 3 spots, but I was surprised at my reaction. Thought you get a kick out of it. Sitting here at work, so I better get back to it later, Jenny.
That is great. I mean, I don't know if I'm really glad that spilling stuff on yourself made you think of us, but I'm glad you were thinking of us. I'm sorry you spilled stuff on yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's hilarious that you just.
And that's all the emails for today. Family at
Thank you,
cageclub.me if you want to send an email. Let us know what you're up to. Let us know what you're watching. We've got news, though, about the Fast and Furious on the streets,
do.
and there is big, big news.
Go ahead.
Spy Racer's out now. Just kidding. I mean, that is true.
Spy Racer season 6 out next week.
And we have the date scheduled to talk to Nico and Kevo again about Spy Racer, so that'll be the next episode. But the actual big news, April 7th, 2023, F10 in theaters.
That's the 2-year mark.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't get a Hobbs and Shaw 2 date yet, which blows my 1 and 1 out of the water.
I mean, we could still, although we are,
We're a little far for it, dude.
we're a little bit down the road,
Yeah.
and all roads do lead home. I don't
They
know.
do.
Like, the only movie I could conceivably see, the only Fast and Furious movie I could conceivably see that would happen between now and
No.
F10 would be
Nope.
Hobbs and Shaw 2, right?
Yes.
And-
Okay. I thought you were saying, like, yeah, that's the only possible one because it was greenlit already. I mean, obviously, we knew we were going to get 10 and 11 of these forever, but Hobbs and Shaw 2 was greenlit, so I was thinking maybe they were going to do, like, summer, and just get on this, like, one a summer kind of track. But I don't think it's possible now.
If in the next couple months, like, hey, it's out in August, like, I can see that, but, like, I think we're too close. Because the other thing, we've talked about this on here before, is these studios, like, claim weekends. And if there's, if there's anything else that's kind of like family action sort of fun, Hobbs and Shaw 2 would not go against that because it's vying for the same audience. And like the next weekend, the previous weekend, whatever, if those are free, sure. But you need to find a weekend like in peak movie going time. And also August is traditionally like a very slow month. Like Free Guy really, especially in the pandemic now, really kind of exceeded expectations with how well it did. August is not usually a great time. I think what last Hobbs and Shaw came out like in June, I want to say. So
Yeah, it's
I don't
usually
know.
they're usually like end of May, June. That's usually when
I
they
think
are.
I think the new goal for Fast and Furious is April because that was what F9 was supposed to be, and that's what this new one's gonna be.
No, it was
but
May 1st and then April after the pandemic. It was gonna be like May, I thought.
maybe, and then it was April, and then it got pushed back to actual May again.
Yes.
I don't know.
I don't know.
The other thing about F9 is that the 4K special features the special features on the disc,
True.
the 4K disc were detailed. There's gonna be a Justin Lin commentary. There's gonna be a Justice for Han segment. There's gonna be some more stuff with Cardi B.
Cars. There's a John Cena Cars segment about a supercar super fan.
I feel like we saw like clips of that. Like they used that promotionally
No, they
before
used
the
it.
movie.
Yes. They used it in the F9 promos. They said it, but it was only like a minute long. This was like a couple minutes long. So
Okay. I'm still waiting to see. We're both waiting to see how many extra minutes of footage will be added to the director's cut. Again, based on what Vivek said, and based on just how these movies have been going, I don't think there's going to be a ton. Also, I don't think deleted scenes were listed either, right? Like it's a bunch of
No.
featurettes and stuff.
bonus material. There was like there was another like an hour of bloopers or 30 minutes of bloopers too, which we never went through the bloopers yet. So
I don't think I've watched those for any movie ever.
they're never very funny.
But man, do they have a good time making those movies.
Like even the bloopers for like Will Ferrell movies, all the jokes are ad-libbed, right? Like all the like one-liner type situations, like so he runs through like 20 of things that he could say right? Like, even the bloopers for those, like, they're gonna use the best one, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's the whole point. I've heard, like, one of those, and I was like, oh, this is funny. But for the most part, it's like...
Right. Yeah. We'll see what the disc holds, and we'll cover stuff eventually, but I'm still waiting to see, and that's coming out, when do we... F9 4K, September 21st, a month from now. So,
oh, cool.
Soon.
Nice,
Soon, you're a balloon. Any other news that you have seen?
No, nothing.
Then the final thing to do before we take a break is the Fast and Furious minute for Too Fast, Too Furious, a minute 23.
Boy,
a minute I called Shut Up, Punk.
Why did you come here, O'Connor?
I got a deal for you.
When I needed your ass, you were nowhere to be found. Now you trying to hand out deals?
I need you to come to Miami and drive with me. If you do, they'll take off that anklet and they'll clear your entire record.
I did 3 years in jail. 3 years in jail over you, Brian. I know you better than you think.
Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't.
Guys finished?
This deal legit.
That's right. If you do this job for us.
Told you.
Shut up, punk. So you're gonna clean my record and get this thing off my ankle.
That's right.
In this minute, Brian and Roman pant on the ground after their fight. Brian explains to Roman why he and Bilkins showed up. Roman explains why he's still mad at Brian because of the 3 years he spent in jail. Bilkins confirms the deal is real. If Roman helps, his record is cleaned. So 2 things of note here. One, we spent a lot of time last time talking about the geographical issue.
Yes.
But Roman saying here and Brian saying come to Miami don't actually answer any questions, right? It's not like, why did you come here to Barstow? Or why did you come here to Northern California? Or whatever, right? It's just come here and come to Miami. So, no real clarity there. And this is the second time in the franchise, and also the second time in this movie, that we get the do this job for us and you'll get your record wiped. Because they just pulled it on Brian. Do this, you're going to go back to prison.
Yeah.
And now they're doing it on Roman. Like, you're on probation, you have an ankle monitor, whatever. Do this for us. So, like, this thing is going to become very well-tread territory in the future.
Yes.
We've now gotten twice in, like, 6 minutes.
Yeah, that's true. Because we definitely get it so many more times throughout the franchise.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see that this is
that's the go-to. That's the move.
Yeah, it's normally like, hey, remember that shitty thing you did? Well, we can make that go away if you do this other thing for us.
And the other thing here is I don't want to pick on people for acting because they're all better actors than I am, and especially because Paul Walker is dead. But watching this on loop over and over and over again.
Oh, yeah.
There are a couple lines here. I got a deal for you, and then him getting up in Roman's face, and these are difficult to watch over and over again.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about this before. We talked about this when we watched, like, the Paul Walker memorial movie.
I Am Paul Walker. Yeah.
I Am Paul Walker. That I think that they were just having a lot of fun outside of this movie, and the movie just became, like, something that they were, like, it was like going to work at an ice cream parlor together. Like, they just kind of had to do it, so they'd show up, and then they would, like, go have actual fun. And sometimes it works, sometimes I think they're hungover. This whole fight scene that just occurred, there's a lot of, like, you punch like shit, you punch like shit. Like, there was, like, a lot of that going on, so, yeah, this wasn't his finest moments, I agree.
I also do wonder if, just like us right now, if he's just like, we got to get out of the scene, nothing is happening, let's just, go to another location. I'm all sandy. I don't want to be here.
Yep, it's hot. It's probably like it looks like it's deserty, right?
Yep.
So like even wherever they're shooting it, it looks like it's hot. And if you were out boozing with Tyrese all night, you're kind of hungover. Now you have to do like a pretend fight scene in the heat. I'd be like, I'm probably gonna vom. Like this is gross.
I think the answer is no. But is there anything of note, anything new that you noticed in this minute?
So. You gave me a fair warning about this. We've now been outside of this trailer for like 3 or 4 minutes.
Yep.
We've covered everything in the background of this area.
Mm-hmm.
But I did notice something cool that carries over to the next minute for like 0.2 seconds. But I think we should address it here because we changed scenes. On Roman's trailer, instead of having a doorknob, he just has a chain.
Oh, okay.
The doorknob is missing. There's just a chain that runs from the inside of the door down the front of the side of the Winnebago.
Yeah.
And he uses that He grabs it when he's walking in the beginning of the next minute. I skipped ahead just a tad, guys. We don't see him open the door, but he like grabs it, and like as he starts to pull, then we change scenes. So I think that's very.
He does yank that, and I wonder if that door just didn't open. They're like, yeah, we can't show him actually getting in because like it doesn't open because like how is
that's
this
not how
work
a door works? Yeah, a knob like turns the fucking latch thing. So is there a word for that?
Clasp? Maybe? I don't know.
No.
I know what you're talking about. I don't know.
There definitely has to be a specific word for that. If you're a smarter person than both of us and you know the word for that, please
I wouldn't say
write
a smarter person. If you're just, I feel like there's something that like Justin would know because like he's like more handy, right? Like there's different kind of intelligence. I'm not saying that we're dumb.
So you're saying Justin's dumb, but he might know the answer is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, sorry, Justin.
Okay. Justin's off dicking around in Spain right now.
I know.
His pictures are fucking awesome. By the way, I can't wait till Justin writes back in so we can gush about this. But Justin, I've been seeing all your pictures in Spain. They look fucking great. You and Hank and Vonnie look like you're having a great time.
Is he eating those snails?
I didn't see any snail pictures yet. Lots of like fucking beaches and like fountains and like, but food, tons of food, cheeses. But yeah, okay. Anyways, if you know the name of this latch clasp, whatever it's called, please let us know. But yes, that's not how the door fucking works. He just like pulls the chain. So like he has this trailer that's out there and it's like never locked because you can't lock it, but it's his house. But he opens it with a chain. Anyways, I find the chain as a door handle thing very fascinating. And I think that was the most fascinating part and something that I had never noticed in the movie before. And I think that maybe the minute question should address that.
Yeah, because the question that I had, because I just didn't have an answer. Didn't have a question.
Hard.
Is what color is the trailer that Roman's living in outside the Demolition Derby? The answer is white with yellow trim. But I do like the idea of what's unusual, or how do you want to ask this? Like, I guess the question is what's a way that we could get 4 different answers that could seem right to whatever question? Okay.
I liked your question, but the thing is, that's kind of like the color scheme of any Winnebago that's from the 80s. So the answer is kind of easy. That's why I was feeling wishy-washy about it, but I agreed with you. I understood exactly why you came to this, because there's really nothing else we haven't covered yet in this minute. I would like to phrase this as, what is like a unique feature about Roman's Winnebago? And I could say, like, I was thinking maybe missing a tire, doesn't have an engine, has a chain for a doorknob, or like the windows are broken. You know what I mean? Like three, four. You could come up with a better one. I don't know which ones of those you like, if you like all of them. Like it's on cinder blocks. I was thinking like all these things, like jokes like it wouldn't move, but like it has NOS, maybe. You know what I mean? Like there's so many things. I don't know which ones you like and which ones you think are good answers. I'm trying to brainstorm for you a little bit, hopefully kicking you.
What is unique about Roman's trailer outside the Demolition Derby? It has a chain in place of a doorknob. It has no tires. It has no engine. It has no windows.
I don't like all the no's like that. I think.
Well, then we can say it has no doorknob.
Oh, boom. Because it does not have a doorknob. It has a chain instead of a doorknob. That is perfect. Wow. Much better. Thank you. You fixed the whole thing with reduction, not addition. It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful machine.
It's a beautiful machine. Was that better? You like that better? Did you just get
yeah.
strong-armed into that, right?
And then I have this whole answer feedback thing, which I still don't know exactly how it works, but minute 23, shut up, punk. Question, what is unique about Roman's trailer outside the Demolition Derby? It has no doorknob, it has no tires, it has no engine, it has no windows. The answer is it has no doorknob.
Yeah. Cool.
Cool.
That worked out better than I expected when we went into this.
Of course. Just like every episode of this show, this is going to be a nightmare, and it turned out just fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
All right, let's take a break. Let's bring in Nico and Kevo and talk about F9.
Welcome back to Too Fast, Too Forever. This is episode number 196, F9, The Fast Saga. 4th gear. This episode is brought to you by Jacob's No. 1 in Tubing Systems. Other tubing systems are specifically produced for a project and welded together on site, but Jacob has come up with a far more efficient way. Standard modular parts with lipped ends are fitted with a U-shaped gasket and joined together with a pull ring. Shout out to Jacob's Tubing.
Well, shout out to Jacob's Tubing, and welcome back to Too Fast, Too Forever. As teased, as promised, as guaranteed, and as delivered, we have with us the gentleman who joined us 2 laps ago, all lap long, the co-hosts of the Husbands Talking More or Less podcast. We have Kevo, Risse, and Nico, Vasilo. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Hey.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
You know, it feels in so many ways, and you know, because here's the thing. Here's the motherfucker of it, right? I said to you, "Hey, Joey, I'm Nico. I'm cool, and I want to be on your show." And you were like, "Okay," and I was like, "Okay, but I can't just be on something. I got to be on every minute of it." And you were like, "Okay," and I was like, "Cool." And so now here I am. I don't use the word regret. If you want, you guys should look up Madonna's video for Human Nature. No regrets. You know what I mean? I understand. I asked for this, and now I'm living it. There's no regretting it. But, you know, I find myself on my 5th season of Spy Racers, on my 9th Fast and Furious proper film, with you know the spin-off under my belt and a video game down and some soundtracks in there, and I gotta say, the universe is starting to feel a little thin.
Well, you're all in though. I mean, that's the thing. Like, where it's maybe feeling thin, but it also could go anywhere. Because while one door closes, and while we only have 2 more movies in the main franchise, there is no end to this content in sight. So maybe
a new atmosphere opens.
I do have to admit, the funniest part for me was when I got really confused because all of a sudden Dom has superpowers. Anyway, so later on in the movie, I just need to share this now, because if I don't get this out, I'm never going to get it out. But at one point, I got really confused because this car pulls up, and I'm like, haha, it's Brian. Wait, how? I thought he was never going to come back again. And I was like, oh, wait, no, he's actually passed on. It's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and I think Jason Statham, who won't come back. Okay, so then, wait, how is that Brian? How is he there? Oh, wait, no, right, he didn't die in the movies. He died in real life. Because for a second I was like, how did this happen? Is it like a ghost? Did they bring something back with them from space? At one point, I was willing to believe that Dom was becoming the Venom symbiote between the freakish strength with the chains, and that I thought Brian might be reanimated in the final scene. So I agree with you and disagree with you.
But does that mean that you like this movie or you did not like this movie? Where do we fall on F9?
I think it's called F9 because it's the magic of 3s. Okay? There are 3 separate movies starring 3 people each.
But why is that the number 9?
Because it's 3 movies starring 3 people. 3 times 3 is 9. I didn't make up numerology.
No,
Alan Moore in a bar with a cigar did. So
he did.
I super love Black Space Car Nerds. That is such an exciting little storyline, and you know, I'm overwhelmed by how far Roman and Tej have come. Of course, I super love. I can't think Ramsey. I was almost like Goslin. Wait, no, her name's not Goslin. That's a really fun movie, and it goes some really cool places. So then there's Charlie's Angels Rescue Bosley. That's Mia and Letty, and I'm so sorry I missed the new young lady's name.
Elle.
No, okay, I didn't miss it. I just thought I kept not hearing it right. Got it. So, and Elle, when they bring in a gorgeous, roughed-up looking Han, you know, that's such a good movie. I enjoy Charlie's Angels Search for Bosley. Fun movie. And then there's a third movie. Sort of inexplicably, Dom is sundowning, imagining his son everywhere, when out of nowhere, he gets a weird, sort of shoehorned in younger brother and racing circuit backstory. Fuck that. And for some reason, they have decided that the only thing that could make Cypher scarier than White Lady Predator dreads was, for some reason, a Prince Valiant bowl cut.
Prince Adam.
It's bad. She looks like she's a member of the Mushroom Kingdom.
She looks like a My Buddy doll.
I hate her so fucking much.
Kevo.
I retroactively
It's the truth.
other movies in this franchise because of her. I cannot tell you how little Cypher does for me, which is so weird because Charlize is such a breathtaking actress in ability, scope, and magnitude, and she could read a Chinese food menu like it was War and Peace. But she can't make Cypher interesting.
But I hope that she keeps getting more and more terrible haircuts. Like in the next movie, I would really love a reverse mohawk, where it's the stripe
Down the middle.
down
what
the
about-
middle.
What about an ombre mullet, but not in the direction you expect?
Just down her face, just right to her nose.
Dark toward the edges, yeah.
I really loved a third of this movie. I really liked a third of this movie, and I had limited interest in the further masturbatory hyperdramatization of the other story. I have a lot of theories on the only reason Jacob exists is because Brian wasn't around. Otherwise, I think...
What the fuck?
Yeah, because I feel like for a couple of years there, we had roller derby girls, and I feel like this is the driving equivalent of roller derby girls for boys.
What's the equivalent?
This
The-
franchise in general?
The silly camp reintroduction of Dom and Jacob as teenagers, young 20-somethings, in what was a sort of strangely... Because, no, I did not feel that this movie was poorly made. I feel this movie was perhaps not made for me. But I don't believe this movie was poorly made. I think all of the choices were stylistically in line with the franchise, just perhaps not the elements of the franchise I like the most.
Did you feel like
And-
previous movies had been made for you?
Yes.
Like, is this a new feeling? So this is a new feeling. Okay.
I would have argued that this film was more made for you because this one feels the most like a Marvel film in how extreme the action sequences are and all of that sort of stuff. It feels the most like they are pushing the films towards superheroism so far of the bunch.
But it felt so generic in a really weird way. Because, you said it's a Marvel film. Well, I believe, Mr. Sir, we spent like 70 episodes proving there isn't the Marvel film formula. There are dozens of Marvel films. I feel like we are sort of at a precipice of where action movies need to make a decision. And I know which one he is, but I think this joke is really funny. And the Hobbs or Shaw appearance, whichever one it was, right, at the end of the movie, I loved how completely incongruous it was with Hobbs and Shaw, the movie. Perhaps Deckard is a little bit more sick and fucked up than the sort of, I can't wait to learn your cultural war dance, teach me to be like you, big brother, Moana. Like, that movie sort of softened Deckard a little too hard for me, unbelievably so. And that was, my main criticism of the film at the time. So seeing this movie cut to him, it's sort of like a Wolverine thing. Sometimes Wolverine is an uncanny X-Men and he's braiding Storm's hair and he's just like, fuck, I love this. And like, sometimes Wolverine is in Wolverine Max and he's skewering spleens right the fuck out of your asshole. He's like, I love this. And so it's just two different versions of the same character. Justin Lin really did go out of his way to incorporate beautiful elements of who these characters are in a sort of nuanced single verse, not multiverse sense, but it's okay to treat even fictional sadistic serial killers as complex people. I'm not saying humanize them. I'm not saying like, oh, look, sometimes he beats people up in body bags, guys. He's just like us. But I'm kind of like saying he has complex feelings. He is a well-developed character that contains a multitude, which is reflective of strong writing, strong directing, and a strong performance from a guy basically playing himself.
Well, and to feed into that too, think about his actions in the last Fast film that we got.
With
was-
the baby!
With the baby and the headphones. Yeah, absolutely. And then in this film, his brief appearance is him beating the crap out of a guy in a punching bag. I would also compare it to the Trejo character from the Spy Kids films, where what is his?
He's from Machete.
Yeah, there's the Machete films, but Machete is also a character in Spy Kids who's Uncle Machete, and you're so silly, Uncle Machete. those people sometimes turn around and they're normal people in with a different crowd.
Now I'm waiting for super duper League of Extraordinary, like a Senshi level League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and Hannibal Lecter's just there, and he's like, "I'm gonna be the arm." Like,
What?
Because sorry. Anyway, I also have decided that I'm forever going to refer to Idris Elba's character from the previous film as X versus Sever Ballistics forever and ever. So yeah, honestly, sorry, I'm just really excited to be back. I love these films despite them sometimes. I love these films directly because of them sometimes. This was one of my least favorite outings, even though it had a lot of parts I liked.
And Kevo, what about you? What did you think of F9?
He thinks everything I think.
Okay, bitch.
You're perfect.
I just don't really know what this brought to the table. I think that F8 Fate brought so much more closure, and this is just like peeling the onion more until you're getting down to the tiny little nub of almost no onion at the middle. And
like if you're
why?
still reading The Onion.
To what end? Exactly. There are 2 films left. We commented early on in the film, it was very nice of them that they didn't try to pretend at all like they needed to build toward the plot. Within the first 5 minutes, they deliver the majority of what the plot of this film is going to be, and then it's just a lot of really long action sequences and either John Cena or Vin Diesel glaring out of driver's side windows. I really want a cumulative running total of how much screen time is those 2 characters just slowly glaring out of their driver's side window. I bet it would be at least 5 minutes. I don't think I'm joking.
There's gotta be a point where Letty is like tapping him on the arm, and she's like, "Dumb,
You gotta go. You gotta
it's
go.
do or
Eyes
die
on the
time."
road.
And he goes, and he's like,
No, I'm
"Done
looking.
squinting." And he just
I'm
squints a
looking.
little tighter, and John Cena and that fucking. So there's, John Cena has that fucking, like, what is it about John Cena that I love so much? It's that he looks like Scrappy Doo on roids. Is what I
Yes,
love
you
about
say that
him.
every fucking time. All
But
the
it's like,
time.
He
You
looks
say
like
that about
Scrappy-Doo
John
on
Cena.
roids. And
He's like a
there's something-
sexy version of that Scrappy Doo from the end of the Scooby-Doo movie.
Yeah, he really is. And he's got
Yeah.
that perfect, like, barrel gut that
Yeah,
looks like
I
during
get
sex,
you.
if you punch it, he would just be like,
Oh.
yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, I never had any opinion on The Rock until I read, this is circa Scorpion King. He talked a lot about who he is, his personal philosophy. And so, okay, side note, there's this joke from Will and Grace where Grace is like,
No.
oh my God, I
No.
can't believe
No.
it.
No.
I'm going to say it. Buffy's a genius. I'm reading this People magazine article where, it starts out where, she's talking about Hollywood, but then by the end, she's talking about her time in a prisoner of war camp.
Grace, you got the pages stuck together again. You read the first half of an interview with Sarah Michelle Gellar and the second half of an interview with, who was it again? Dick
Colin
Cheney?
Powell.
Colin Powell. Oh my God.
And she goes, oh, nope, you're right. There it is. After all these years, limos are still really cool. I actually had that moment about The Rock when I was in like 9th or 10th grade. I read this amazing Rolling Stone interview with him where he was just like deceptively candid, because something I've come to realize about The Rock is a very methodical person, and I don't mean that sinisterly, but like he, much like Captain America, believes it's sort of important to uphold a conceptual ideal for people to respect. So like,
Yes. He learned that from his dad.
yeah,
It's wrestling, yeah.
he makes the decision to sacrifice exactly who Dwayne Johnson is to have a specific public persona. One of the things he talked about in this article, it's really important that you make time for yourself. One of the things he likes to do once a week is he likes to sit down with a crossword puzzle or something like that. And he talked about how he makes time every week to masturbate, not have sex with someone, but to find time to check in with himself. And yeah, the gym is still a really important part of who he is, but he had to change the way he hits the gym because now he's not a wrestler, he's an actor. And like, it was so pointlessly honest. No PR person wrote that. A PR person approved it, obviously, but no PR person wrote that for him. It was just who the fuck he is in the right way showcased to this magazine. And I forever became a Dwayne The Rock Johnson fan in that moment. He also then had that super manipulative, you can do anything and be an action star reality show for a year. And that also manipulated me into loving him more. I'm pretty simple. Give me an uplifting story about, you know, a young Latina from Perth Amboy finally making it, and I'm there, you know?
That's your story.
Yeah, I'm there for my own movie. Fuck everyone, right? I'm just like Scarface, but with my middle fingers, right? So, I recently read a really similar interview with John Cena. I'm not saying that I don't think a single person in wrestling is actually stupid. Those are some of the smartest actors, marketing people, fitness people. Those guys understand several art forms far better than any of us do, and they do it with an enormous amount of CTE. So let's consider how fucking smart you must be to be a super successful professional wrestler. John Cena flat out calls himself a dumbass in this interview. He's like, man, I made a lot of fucking stupid decisions, didn't I? I picked bad movies, and then every time they didn't open at number one, I ran back to the ring. And how did that make me an actor? I am so lucky that people kept giving me a chance. I was out of chances, guys. I made all the wrong decisions. And here I am with Suicide Squad and F9, and I'm the luckiest guy. And I was just like, where's the macho guy? Where's the where's the Dave Bautista of it? Which is,
Yeah.
I hate how egocentric he is, and he's always the victim, right? Not that I hate Dave Bautista, but there's something about the way the news media carries him that is not very attractive. John Cena came barrel chest open and just said, this is what it's like. I was literally the most fucking failed, set up big deal. I couldn't stop failing. I'm so lucky and so grateful. And I was just like, God damn, now I'm a John Cena fan for life. It was that easy, just to be that humble. I'll be honest, it wasn't his performance in this film that did it for me. He wasn't given a whole lot to work with. He was basically told, be angry. It was kind of like all of the passion of a Christian Bale without any of the nuance of the script that would support the acting, you know? It wasn't John Cena. It was the character was flat as shit. It was just like the 8th Toretto we've met, and they can't all be Helen Mirren putting a spin on Shaw. I'm sorry. I don't mean to keep talking the most. I had a lot of feelings about this movie because I was so excited going into it. I'm now really excited for 10. That's how I'm choosing to look at it. I don't feel 9 failed me. I think this movie was for a lot of people, just not me. And I'm so here for 10. Well, did you guys like it?
So now we're on our fourth watch of this already. I liked it a lot, and when we saw it in theaters together, which was like a big part of it. But I think even still rewatching it, I'm like, this is still really good because I think it did a lot of fan service. And as much as like Kevo was saying, like, oh, they're just peeling away at the onion, I actually think that they put out a lot of feelers and directions of where 10 can go. And when we were talking about it, you know, after we watched it, there's so many other places that it can go that my brain is with you, Nico, like, oh, I'm excited for 10, but in a different reason. They could really go anywhere from here. They kind of like restarted like the jump off points, and they left themselves a lot of outs around to like go in a bunch of different directions.
Now, Joey, how did you feel?
I mean, I really liked it, but I mean, again, we like the point of this episode, as much as any of these episodes have a point, is to hear what you guys think about it, because we've already kind of, I don't want to say we've exhausted our takes on it, but like, we've already talked about it 3 times, and I am right now this 4th time. I still like it, but I'm getting burnt out. It's
so quick together. I agree.
When 10 comes out or whenever the next movie is, because 10 was just dated for 2023. If Hobbs and Shaw 2 is before that, or if 10 is the next one, as we talked about in the intro, we got to spread these out a little bit because like it's not far enough apart to have new thoughts.
Yep.
And I love having getting all of our people that we've watched all the movies with to talk about the things, but like, this movie is not meant to be watched 4 times in 6 weeks or whatever we're doing. Like, it's crazy how fast we're doing this. Like, what I think benefits this podcast, not only in terms of getting new takes, but like when Joe and I have a new take on a thing, it's because we see another movie and we're able to react to a different movie to that movie or whatever.
Yes,
like, we'll watch Tokyo Drift.
Yep.
After seeing F9, be like, oh my God, I never thought about X, Y, or Z. Because of the conversation we had on 6, I was paying special attention to the time where Han meets Mr. Nobody, and I do think my theory is out the window. I also do want to clarify, we mentioned at one point, either in the F9 or the F6 episode, that Stasiak and Mr. Nobody are together. I don't think they are. There's no indication. He's not mentioned in that scene, so I think they're separate. I don't know why his Aunt Acid is Japanese, but like I don't have enough new thoughts about this to really, carry my weight in a new episode because like it's so close together. And this is, my own fault to a certain extent for like scheduling it because I just was so excited to get everybody in here. And again, going back to how I started this, the point of this episode, like I don't mind just kind of listening to you guys talk because this is your first time really, get your thoughts out publicly, on air, whatever you want to say. Like Joe and I have already talked about this enough, and we still have another 2 times this lap to talk about it, right? So like we're gonna keep going, but I would love to just hear what you guys think, things that you love, things you didn't like. I'm excited that Nico that you're excited for F10. Yeah, like just moments, Han being back or space or Mr. Nobody or anything. Yeah.
I understand that Fantastic Car Saga is essentially
fantastic cars and where to drive them.
Where to drive them, motherfucker.
That was really good.
So
yes.
I think we can agree that it kind of has to have a bit of a sliding time scale. We can't really accept that the first movie years ago. It just kind of doesn't work because that would involve Dom advancing at such an accelerated rate in terms of their internal timeline.
That would make the flashback with battling Jack Toretto take place 12 years before the first movie.
That's the big issue, is that if they made that opening thing 1999 instead of 89, there's no problems. But the fact that they dated it 12 years before the first movie, nothing about this makes sense.
Kevo, thank you for bringing that up again. My other thing was they name his dad Jack, and Jack Toretto throws a match. So it's just battling Jack Murdoch. It's just
and
literally
it leads to his
Daredevil's
death,
dad.
yeah.
So it's just literally Daredevil's dad dying in a bad mob hit, creating a superhero who is then haunted by figures from his past and has to bring down a global kingpin. Now I understand where that's going. I can't wait next movie to meet Stick. Still same name because now it's just that he drives Stick, right? So
yes,
there's so much to that I thought was super fascinating. For me, my first reaction was, so that's, I guess that's his dad. So I guess that's his dad that's in the pit crew. And then it turned out it was John Cena as a kid. And you had to convince me otherwise. I remember us both having a reaction to that.
Because it wasn't believable age-wise, or what?
Yeah, it was weird.
It also had a sense of surreality to it. I know I make the joke over and over again that Rush Rush by Paula Abdul is the magical psychic predecessor to this. But in a lot of ways, it feels to me as though Paula Abdul's Rush Rush could have been this. Like, this scene felt very 1960s, 1970s, 1980s, there was a general NASCAR feel to this sequence.
Oh yeah, it could have been the 50s.
Yeah, it didn't feel timeless. It felt almost malchronistic. Yeah, vague. That's better than making up a word.
Ambiguous.
It feels like they set this in 89 for when they have, like, when Dom gets out of prison, which I guess we'll put it at like 91 maybe, even though there's not a date on screen, he does a couple years or whatever. It's like we want to show the 90s, but it doesn't really feel like it's of an era, but also outside of time in a way.
Oh, that was something we said too, was we wonder if this is maybe going to be setting up like Fast Furious prequel franchise, Young Dom.
Young Dom, who, if I could introduce myself.
No, Young Jacob. Young Jacob is the hot one.
I would want to hope they're both secretly young subs, but we can work with that where we work with it.
Oh, but the dad was so hot.
Oh, the dad was needlessly hot. The dad was just big.
Really?
Number.
Yes. Oh yeah, he was super hot.
I have to ask Rachel. She never mentioned it. I need to hear her take on it too.
Every single Toretto is deeply penetrable.
Not Young Dom.
Young Dom spoke like a demon from Ghostbusters. His voice rattled the bed. So I could let him get away with a lot. So once we came back to the present, I literally felt like the movie moved too fast.
It goes fast. It moves really quick. I agree.
It goes fast. It goes furious. It goes and there's a 2 and a 3. No, it literally. One of the things that I love doing is Kevo actually is really great about it. Kevo, you make those amazing supercuts of stuff, and you can sort of make a wow. This is a movie of a season of a TV show. A lot of people like to cut together cutscenes from video games, and they try to include everything, but they leave out the 2-second shit, right? But that's because you want to make a good product. You're not worried about completionism. You're worried about narrative sense. One of the things these movies decided they were going to do is if they were going to up the car chase length, which cool, thanks for doing it, they decided that the minutes had to come from somewhere. Let's take them from character development.
Well, I think that by this point we know the characters. We don't know Jacob as much but also to a certain extent we know Jacob because Jacob is Dom's brother, and we kind of assume to a certain extent, right or wrong, he is Dom, basically.
He's
right?
Toretto.
The time that we learn from 1989 and the way that they grew up together and him being banished, I feel like this movie is just like, yeah, you get it. And I'm not saying that's a good thing, but I think that so many of these characters we've seen for 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 movies or whatever, right? That like, I don't know if it's just they're on autopilot or, what is self-driving, autonomous mode in Tesla speak, that like they don't need to, but I think there's not a lot of new characters. Like even the fact that like Cypher's the big bad again, that we still don't know much about her. Like they're just like, yeah, you don't need to know new things. Like let's just do like action stuff.
But like I've read 745 issues of Daredevil running since 1963. The runs I care about are the ones that do new stuff. I don't want something that reiterates to me the status quo. If I want to know the thing you already did well, I'll go check out the thing you did well, unless the thing you did well doesn't hold up.
Well, one thing to that point that Joe has said, and I will keep bringing it up because it's my favorite idea of how to frame this movie, is that this was Justin Lin's return to the franchise after being away for 7 and 8, that they wanted him to do 7. He wanted to do 7, but he was finishing up 6. He's like, I want to focus on 6. And then he was doing other stuff for 8, so he comes back for 9, and he's going to do 10 and 11. And so Joe had the idea, like, this is kind of framing things around, like, him getting the keys in 4. Like, he did 3, but 3 is... Tokyo Drift is essentially not a Fast and Furious movie. I mean, it is, but like it's not the characters that we know. That 4 is just like reorienting with the movies that we know. And so this is kind of just positioning things for 10 and 11. So I know you said earlier you were excited for 10. Maybe that's because either you actually are excited for 10 or because you didn't like this. But I think the framing of this in terms of like the ones doing it well, I don't want to say it's okay that you take one of 11 in a core thing and be like, yeah, this is the one where we're just like positioning things for the future, but also like it kind of is, because like this is again sort of angling things toward an end game.
He's building the last arc. Yeah,
I wish that there was more that happened specifically around Cypher, and I've said this before and I will say it again. I'm frustrated because, like, in 8, I was not satisfied with her character because I'm like, it's unfinished. And then when they showed her in the trailer for 9, I was like, cool, I like 8 more because we know that we're getting more of Cypher. And then here, they do the same goddamn shit, and they don't really expand things, and she's on the run again, and it felt like we were just running in place toward this ultimate endgame where either she's the big boss, the big bad, or she's got a boss that either we know or don't know, and it's frustrating that way. So I see where you're coming from. And I think in the long run, this will be looked back, I hope, optimistically, as one that positions us for the end game. But at the same time, 800 whatever issues of Daredevil, or however many hundreds of issues of Daredevil, like, you might not pick 9 as, like, one to rewatch because it's like, yeah, it's not great on its own, but goddamn did it set up 10 in a good way.
I totally respect your opinion. I narratively disagree with the perspective that a $100 million thing can be a setup project. This is people's lives. These are people's livelihoods. Something that does not have a narrative, self-cohesive idea is less likely to make money in the long run. That's people's residuals. That's things that could have been made better for the sake of self-standing story. I think there's so much that you can't possibly make 10 out of all of the story. You can't possibly close out everything that's still open for the next movie and say that's the end. Like there's too much already. And then they introduced a bunch of new confusing things that changed the past a bunch.
But did they, though? Because I don't think they really did. I don't think this movie asked many more questions than it answered. I think we're largely in around the same place.
But it answered a bunch of questions poorly is the issue. It told me things about Dom that don't make conceptual sense with my understanding of this hot-shot, underground, speed racer, international guy. All of a sudden, he was a hot-headed pit crew kid in a sort of removed decade that kind of changes my understanding of his actions. So now if we're updating his actions, if we're going to make it a comic book, now we need to update his actions. The fact that Karen Page in 1964 kept telling Matt Murdock, you would be the perfect man if only you weren't blind. She was super ableist to his face. And when we look back on that, we either have to update that material or we have to literally call her out for ableism. Those are your choices. You either rewrite that material and reframe it, whether it's through a retcon or a new miniseries that replaces old stuff, but you address it or you don't get to use it. You don't get to.
How does that relate?
I understand that we were never told one thing Dom didn't do was work on a racing circuit with his dad who exploded in a car. I know we were never told that. My understanding of 2001's Fast and Furious Dom is now irrevocably changed to be a lot more of a pretender and a lot more of a phony. He doesn't read like a super cool street racing guy. He now reads like a down on his luck guy who doesn't know anything better than kind of running with a crew much younger than him. So now he's an old man racing cars against kids. And it kind of reframes a lot of the times he's outraced people and been like, yeah, don't mess with the best. Well,
you struck out on an actual racing circuit. That's not really the same thing as you are the best and you turn your nose up at professionals. You struck out and almost murdered a guy and are not welcome to even try in an actual professional circuit. It's not that you are better than them. It's that you actually went to prison for almost killing a dude with a wrench. And that makes you kind of a dangerous old man who hangs out with a lot of hot young kids.
And then there's the whole matter of family is family is family. For a guy whose family, he's got a lot of enemies from his family past, and he's got a whole lot of bodies in his wake. There's something narratively unseemly about this film that, in a lot of ways, asks us to sort of replace earlier ideas to head toward a conclusion that, while I'm excited for, this is a very modified conclusion.
And if I could build on what you are discussing here, I would need to tangent a little bit into something from Marvel that came out this week. Is anybody watching What If? And if not, do you care about spoilers?
Okay, cool. We would never want to spoil it for anybody.
And the commercials make it clear that this week's episode is What If T'Challa was adopted by Yondu instead of Peter Quill. And I feel like this week's What If episode really recontextualized a lot of the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise and Yondu as a character, where it really makes it apparent that Yondu was just looking to be a father at that point in his life. And it happened to cross with him interacting with Peter Quill. In this universe, instead, T'Challa is such a good person that he influences and changes Yondu. In a similar way, learning about Jacob and the fact that they had been estranged for over 10 years, when the franchise begins, it really recontextualizes the idea that Dom was looking for a very white-looking younger brother figure in his life.
Oh,
so now that makes me think about stuff like
a
that.
car racing
too.
protege who is somebody who wants to go as far as Dom wants to go, that Dom can hold back from the darkness. This movie does a lot to answer questions I didn't want answered.
And so was Mia, who in this film even specifically says she was more desperate to keep Jacob in their lives. It changes everything we know about the Toretto family in a way that I don't love, and I am especially bothered by knowing that we can never see Brian's reaction to all of this. He is an important part of this family and this franchise. So I'm sad that we can't see his reaction to these things, and there are other stories you could tell instead that wouldn't require or inspire that sort of sadness that that character has to be missing.
See, like, I don't mind. Like, we have not really explored the rewriting of Dom's character in early movies vis-a-vis this, and looking, especially the amazing point of him looking for a younger white brother, is, you know, basically adopting protege Brian to replace as a siphon, whatever. Cypher, you know, Cypher, the Charlize character, as a Charlize for Jacob.
Do you like my new bowl cut? I won't emote either way.
I think for what we do here specifically, I'd rather have them rewrite everything, because then it makes us rethink everything. I think it's more interesting, honestly, if Dom is a poser. I think Dom, like, to the world exudes cool, but him being fragile inside, which I think the movies have kind of shown as time has gone on, and even in the first movie, right? Like, you know, for those 10 seconds I'm free, like, he's a man filled with stress and worry, and he owes the world things, and is like, he can't live up to his father's, you know, dreams of him and his stature and whatever. I think Dom is a very fragile man that exudes to the world, I'm an alpha male, but he's not.
Then you have to reckon it, and the reckoning of it can't be the cutscenes every time. Every movie should have dealt with this by now. If this is a man suffering from lifelong PTSD from a series of unfortunate car events, and he is choosing to live his life by the code that killed his dad...
I don't think that was something that the franchise cared about until now. I think for a while they're like, hey, let's make car movies, let's make action movies, let's make heist movies, and then as time goes on, there's really, and we've complained about it here, there's only so many times you can save the world. So these later movies, for better or worse, have become more character-based and family-oriented, yeah. And I think that they're exploring it now because how do you go bigger? Like, how do you make a bigger movie? They literally went to space to save the world this time. Like, you can't go beyond that. So I think what they're drumming up is internal conflict within characters, interpersonal conflict between characters, and then also just every angle conceivable of, like, family, good versus bad, friend versus foe, welcoming people into the family, justice for Han, all of that, where the final two movies are not necessarily going to be bigger, but they're going to be more impactful because of what we're talking about now, where they have to reckon with the fact that they're okay with Deckard, who tried to kill Han, even though apparently he was unsuccessful. And I think there's stuff like that where it's not the movie that they set out to make in 2001 about this, like, complicated study of a fragile male ego. But I think as time goes on, I think it adds new context and nuance. Like, when we watch the deleted scenes for the first movie, we found out that Vince's mother is dying in the hospital. We're like, where the fuck is that? Like, you can't cut that out.
Everything.
But, like, it changes everything. And I am 100% on board with them rewriting every goddamn thing in this franchise if it makes it more interesting to talk about, because we have penned ourselves into a format where we have to talk about these movies forever. And if we're able to constantly rethink, like, if we're just set, like, yeah, Dom's an alpha male, that's all he's got, like, that's not interesting.
But I mean, he had so much more before that, for me, there's an acceptable balance of realism and surrealism. As a guy who deigns to live in comic books, there's an acceptable amount of realism and surrealism. And to use the Daredevil example again, something that was really getting me down, that kind of pushed me away from Daredevil, was the book had become stupidly grimdark. There was no joy, there was no light, and that's just not my shit. And that writer is a very successful guy. I would never take from Charles Soule his success and his career. But I heard a funny writer, like a super funny writer, was taking over. And I love Chip Zdarsky. He drew Sex Criminals for its run, which is a brilliant book about two people who, when they have sex, can stop time and they use it to rob banks.
I've read that.
And they say Zdarsky is taking over Daredevil. And I'm like, holy shit, it's going to be like a return to Mark Waid. It's going to be light and funny. And from the first issue, it's the grim, darkest version of Daredevil ever. It is the best Daredevil run it's up there. It's one of the top three, I'd say. It's because instead of being needlessly grimdark, a night Daredevil is really off his game and is dealing with some serious injuries. He is defending himself against some thugs that he tried to stop, and he accidentally uses an iota too much force, and the guy dies in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. Matt is forced to reckon with the fact that he has probably killed other people before, but this is the first time he can draw a direct line between the kick and the death. This is the first time that he is not just seen it, heard it, tracked it, the ambulance ride, the newspaper, someone saw him do it. Daredevil literally murdered someone trying to defend himself, having tried to stop these muggers. Ultimately, he turns himself into the police, and he actually goes to jail. And he is in jail, and Daredevil, somebody had to be Daredevil, so Elektra came home, and Elektra became Daredevil, and now Elektra is Daredevil. And this has been going on for like 6 to 8 months. The book has won a bunch of Eisner Awards. If I got another run about Daredevil going further into the darkness, that would bore the shit out of me. But I got a run about Daredevil dealing with the psychological trauma. So after he does that, he can't bring himself to go out and police the streets. So instead, he uses his super hearing to hear crimes exactly where they are, call the police, and is acting as a crime radar, phoning into the police as much as he can till it's stretching the police too thin. It doesn't make me go back and reread that Charles Soule run and go, wow, this pain was worth it. It makes me go, next time I'm going to read the Mark Waid run directly into the directly into the Chip Zdarsky run. Because I don't need the stuff in between that just bums me out. And I hear what you're saying, but I don't know that at this point they can generate a psychological profile of an alpha male crumbling under the rigors of a world designed to test his mettle, because it's not the real world. This is literally a world designed to test Dom. And that's the point of the films. I'm not being like, oh, it didn't get real enough. No. Like, that's the point of the films. It's a world designed to test this guy, right? I just don't think we have enough time to delve into the psychology of it without doing it a vague disservice to the point of, like, then you didn't really have time for this. You should have finished it with a fun movie franchise.
I really hear what both of you are saying. When we were talking about this early in the episode, when you were discussing the way that you feel like this was a setup film to help lead us into the final two films, I really hear what you're saying. It really made me think of one of the issues a lot of people had with Rise of Skywalker from the Star Wars franchise, being that it felt like it was too many movies in one movie because J.J. Abrams didn't have the film space or the time to shift in a direction that he wanted for the climax of the franchise. And here we're seeing Justin Lin be given that space and breadth and the ability to do a film that leads into a 2-part film finale for this franchise. I really hear where Nico is coming from, where if these projects are this big and have these huge names and they cost several $100 million, they really should be more than just kind of filler.
I don't see it as filler.
Even when it's good filler, and even when it is helping set things the way that Justin Lin wants for a finale, it really feels mostly to me like setting your toys in a place where you want them. I don't know. I feel like you could have done more while also accomplishing that goal, maybe.
I struggle with how you could do it, though, because it's like this movie's already 2.5 hours, like 2 hours long. It's more of an undertone of setting up than it is overtly setting it up, because you still get a Fast and the Furious movie here.
You say it's a very long movie, but I made the joke earlier about I would love the proportion of how many minutes is glaring out windows, but genuinely, how much of the films is action sequences versus actual plot and character development? I really would be curious to know what the proportion is, because I do think that it leans heavily toward action, which means to me, if you have 143 minutes, you do have more room for character and story development.
Okay, so let's talk about the plot moments that we did get. What wasn't a foregone conclusion? What happened in this movie that I didn't vaguely understand would be the outcome when I was given the plot?
Or was a complete retcon of the history in terms of introducing Jacob, changing Dom and Mia's past,
bringing
changing
back Han,
who their father was. Okay, I'll even... I wasn't thinking Han, but yeah, kind of. So, like, Han at least counts for half of that.
I think that there's two things at play here. I think, number one, we're living in a world, this is what we've been dancing around and sort of alluding to, we're living in a world where Paul Walker passed away and this franchise continued. That they discussed whether they should end it right there at 7, and they said, we're going to keep going, we're going to do this for Paul. And I think, as much as they say nothing changed, I think everything changed. And whether or not they had an end goal in mind when they were writing 7, everything changed. Whether or not they were ever going to introduce, a baby brother to Dom, who knows, right? But like whatever the goal was, they got a different place there. I also think all the movies now, all the last handful have been introduce one new kind of villainous character and then have a bunch of action scenes framed around a vague save the world plot. That Joe and I joke about this all the time, that we don't really care. We can't really explain the plots. We're like, what is it? Like, what's Cypher's plan? Like accountability? Like, we don't know what that means. Like, that's just what all these movies are. And I don't think, I don't think it's not a good thing. It's definitely not a good thing. But like, I don't think it's a bad thing because like there's other things that we enjoy about these movies. But I think what this movie specifically set out to do, and I would agree that it doesn't necessarily need to 143 minutes to do this, but it brings Han back to, either personally or professionally or in the franchise, right the wrong that Justin Lin felt of them killing Han and then welcoming his killer into the family. They right that ship, or they begin to right that ship in the tag in the credits, and they also introduce Jacob, who is now on this on the team, and then they also have Cypher still on the lam. So like this movie does two things. Filler movie is the wrong thing, but it's connective tissue, and again, it could be better, it should be better, whatever. But I think it's doing these two things, and I think the Han thing specifically is a big deal
for fans
and for narrative and for closure and for a bunch of different things. So,
but I don't know how I feel about an entire film, or not the entire film, but a huge portion of this film's purpose being to correct that wrong.
Well, because it also doesn't do that. Right? Like,
we don't get justice for Han in this movie.
Right. The goal, and I think, Kevo, like, you're spot on. The tagline for this movie is justice is coming. Like, Han is here. They spoiled that in the trailer. Han's back in the trailer, and he only shows up, like, halfway into this movie, right? But the whole time, you're like, okay, cool. They're going to get vengeance on Deckard, who, as far as we understand, is not in this movie. And then he shows up in the credits, and then Han goes, presumably, to kick his ass, but who knows?
But I misunderstood then, I think, because I never believed for a moment that justice for Han was an internal statement. I always understood that justice for Han was a call for I'm not trying to be silly, but it was a call for proper representation of Asian characters who spawned
external.
No, that makes sense, but that's not what it was.
Right. No, the Justice for Han movement, and movement is a very strong word, and that's why people like, oh my god, justice for Giselle. It's like, no, you're missing the point. Justice for Han, everyone's favorite character, like I would say 40% of people's favorite character is Han. Like, people just fucking love Han for obvious reasons, right? The Justice for Han idea is that they have a character that they love. In a movie that Justin Lin does not make, Fate of the Furious, after he has created the character with Sung Kang in Better Luck Tomorrow, welcomed him into the franchise, the character who ostensibly kills this character, this fan favorite, does one favor for Dom, and Dom's like, yeah, you're invited to my barbecue. Like, you did a good thing. We're family now. And that's what Justice for Han is. It's like, how can you willingly open your arms to Deckard, who killed a family member? You're prioritizing family over family. And that's Justice for Han.
Then let's take a step back, and then let's even reinterpret it, because then you're still erasing a character created by an Asian man. I understand that you want to be like, well, no, because this franchise doesn't care about it. But the studio wouldn't give a shit because they know they've got you hooked. I don't mean that like rudely, but when people are like, John Hickman just left the X-Men, everyone's going to quit. No, you're all lifers. You're all going to come back. It's a cycle thing. It's what you do. Franchises are emblazoned on us, and that's how franchises are able to come back. So I even understand if we want to strip out the cultural relevance of Justice for Han, but there is an actual sense of, no, you just shit on a character with this new movie, which is actually what I'm saying is my problem with F9. It's kind of like Justice for Dom, who was just completely stripped of his mystery and uniqueness when we found out that Wolverine was actually a little French noble boy living in Canada in 1906, but was actually the cuck child of the bull that was the caretaker. And he discovered his powers as a little kid and killed some people and then just ran through the wilderness forever. When we found out that was Wolverine's origin, instantly we didn't like Wolverine anymore. Batman, we always knew his parents were killed at the theater. Wolverine, we never knew his origin. In order to fix this, they added more fake origin to Wolverine. We discovered there was 10 years we never even knew about. I feel like they just told me Dom was a little French noble boy, and a lot of his mystery is now, oh, he's just a burnout trying to ape his dad.
But the twist here is that the man most responsible for giving that character agency and life and whatever, he's the one calling the shots now. That along with Justin Lin, Vin Diesel is the one, and Neil Moritz, the producer, he's the one pulling the strings. So this is where he wants to take the character. So, like, I understand the parallel there, but it's like whoever, Stanley or Jack Kirby or whoever created, or, you know, I don't know, whoever created Wolverine was just also like, hey, yeah, like, let's do this. Like,
well, the person who created Wolverine wanted Wolverine to be a mutated Wolverine. And he was told, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Then later on, he tried to be like Spider-Woman is a mutated spider. And he was told, fuck, that's worse. No. Just because you had the character in your hands doesn't necessarily mean your vision is complete. I do also need to mention that there's a thing, author blindness, because you know the character so well, there's things you take for granted the other people don't know. The audience doesn't know all of Dom's motivations the way Vin Diesel does. So to Vin Diesel, this is a satisfying story. To me, this just made him seem so weird in retrospect. He just seems weird now. He seems much less cool, much more, why are you hanging with these people? There's something weird about you.
I also really want to point out, if we're talking about the changing of hands between creatives in terms of the directors and Justin Lin not having been responsible for Fate of the Furious, etc., screenwriter Chris Morgan was on the films from Tokyo Drift through to Fate of the Furious. So in terms of creatives, he at the very least was partially responsible for the killer of the character of Han sitting down at that barbecue as well.
But also he's not on this one, right?
Yeah, and
so
it's split because he went to Hobbs and Shaw and wrote Hobbs and Shaw, and then Justin Lin came back to like retake over the main franchise.
The strange position we find ourselves with this movie is this is the first movie that's come out with the finish line in sight.
That's
that
true.
Before 9 came out, we had no idea how many more. We were assuming it was nearing the end, but before 9 comes out, they're like, we're doing 10 and 11 or two more, like 10-1 and 10-2 or whatever.
It's Final Fantasy's up in this piece.
Yes, it's framing the story in this as part of like a trilogy or an arc or whatever, as opposed to just like this ongoing saga where like ostensibly any of these could be the final movie, even though the villain gets away. Like, it's not going to be, but like it could be. But this, we're explicitly told, no, this is not the end. There
will be an end.
And I think that it sucks in terms of the modern, what you were saying before, it sucks that like everything is kind of the MCU-ish where like it can be its own thing, but it also has to set up the next thing and also reference the back thing and whatever. And like, it's all of that, right? And Star Wars too.
We've talked a lot about the movie I didn't like. If it's cool, I thought that there was this super non-toxic alpha male character that represented a lot of bygone ideals in a zeitgeisty way that was sort of like the Fonz in the 70s still being cool. This guy was, bumping some Aphex theory, driving down Miami in a purple car, and that was 1995 to me. And like, I loved this. I find just that, the changes just don't jibe with my understanding. Now he's a little bit more listens to Warrant and drinks Pabst, and that's perhaps not my vision of the character. And I hope it doesn't seem like I was shitting on your guys' either love of the movie or love of the character.
No.
Because
no,
there's
not at all.
certainly nothing wrong. And that's why I even started this whole thing with, this just was not the movie for me. But I could not get enough Mia this movie. This was Mia's movie, top, bottom, and verse queen in between. This movie was such a time for Mia to shine. I thought that there were sacrifices I made of Letty in order to allow the progression of other people's story, because it wasn't all men getting more story. It was also new characters like Ramsey, who is spectacular. So, there's a trade, an L here, spectacular. But one of the things this movie did was I out loud said, just to compare to Marvel for one more second, the A-Force moment can go and fuck itself, because this movie has an A-Force third. This movie literally has women with as much action, as much agency, and I really like Letty. I don't love Michelle Rodriguez, but Letty gets me in the heart. Specifically gets me in the fucking feels. And she'd made a lot of comments that I might have I might have set my Google alert to remind me about Fast and Furious, no, whatever. I was reading this article where she was talking about how she swears this movie will actually have Letty in the role Letty was always meant to have, like action star. They didn't pull any punches for this one. And I was like, aw, maybe her car will get eyelashes. And like, I just could not imagine a movie studio delivering on the quality of promise Michelle Rodriguez had made. It seemed impossible. Those are all my favorite scenes. Oh, other than two black men. The minute they got into space and Ludacris put on what was easily the best performance in his face in history, I was like, wow, this is moving because this is two black men who never thought they would be anything, and there's only like a 1 in 100 million chance you're going to be an astronaut. And these two black men got to do it by virtue of what they love. I like kind of started to cry, actually. Like, I loved 2/3 of this movie, and we just talked for an hour about the third I didn't. I really loved 2/3 of this movie. I genuinely loved the Charlie's Angels save Bosley, because then when Han, he looks so good. I mean, he kind of looks like he got run over by a tire, which is fine. He's beat up the whole movie. They finally let him be his age.
Oh my God, he's 49. He looks great.
That's what I'm saying. He looks amazing.
Oh, 49? Yeah, okay. Okay.
Yeah, he looks fucking gorgeous. Gorgeous. Fucking gorgeous. And
I would have said like 44, but 49? No.
He plays the character with such... I don't believe this is him as a person. I don't for one moment. But he plays the character with such a disarming ease. He steps into a scene and suddenly Han has that much personality. There's something dynamic about the performance that sort of transcends the confines of the genre and the sort of film that it is. It's kind of Captain Jack Sparrow-y in terms of how much presence he has. It's just that Captain Jack Sparrow is the name in that film, so he's a household name, whereas Han is he's sort of more of a thinker in that way. He's kind of a background character that steals the show by virtue of acting competence among plenty of other competent actors. You know, any shots I make at the execution of things is usually that script, directing, and acting didn't all come together. None of these are horrible actors in the least. Even John Cena gave a much better performance than I expected, given the role I knew he was going to play. I don't know. I really loved the 2/3 of this movie that were protected classes kick ass. It was just like Hidden Figures all up. It was just like 10,000 points, because I never thought Ludacris would give an acting performance that actually moved me. Because, like, you know, plenty of people are funny. Channing Tatum in 21 Jump Street is pissed my pants while hard funny, because he's so funny and he's so sexy. It's so great, right? But I don't think, other than perhaps This Is the End, Channing Tatum is ever going to give a performance where I walk away going, I am changed, right? I think I developed a much intenser Dom relationship with big dudes after that. It got weird. But the look of how the fuck did I do this on his face, playing out against his belief that they are destined to help people. Oh my God, that was just so good, and like so much better than the guy that did the closing verse on Gossip Folks that I ever thought. Rollout did that, you guys. Rollout did that to me.
He has to be thinking about this, but like in his real life too, right? Like maybe he's just sitting there in that moment, and it just comes through that like he's like, dude, I never thought that I would be in a movie that will be making $1 billion, going to space.
What a bigger action star he is than LL Cool J ever was. And LL Cool J can bench press The Rock. So, like, fuck, LL Cool J can bench press The Rock's net worth. So, like, if, you know, this rapper turned actor, this skinny little black dude, just this guy who... knowing he could rap, no one lifted a hand. So he went about his business and devised a plan. He made a CD and he hit the block. 50,000 sold, $7 a pop. So I'm going to stop. But it's important.
No one knows what you're doing.
Do you guys have any other thoughts about F9? Or do you want to play a game?
No, I have a few more thoughts about F9. I have not even begun to thought. No, I'm pretty far in. That movie. Okay, so then the other movie that I want to talk about for a moment is the Roman Tej Ramsey movie, which had its own set of side characters. Number one, Cardi B-licious. I loved her appearance. I don't give a shit. I am obsessed with her now. She won me over.
And she's coming back,
so
by the
fucking
way.
funny. Good.
If you didn't know, she's coming back.
And just don't bring back Punchy Punch woman, Ronda Rousey or whatever. The other thing I loved was we're gonna borrow the Ant-Man cast storyline. Where was that Bow Wow? Am I losing my mind? Was that Bow Wow?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he's back.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I loved that.
All three of them are from 3.
Yeah, I loved that storyline. They all looked a little older. We seem to be very protective of Dom always looking good for his age, because Vin Diesel is showing 48 year. What is he? 50 now? 50 something?
54.
54-year-old wear. I was gonna say he's 48, but that's just how good he looks, right? He's showing wear, but he's showing wear for a fucking mega muscled celebrity super actor who's probably been on a very tight regimen, keeping himself healthy, putting all the right stuff in his body. It's a hard job. We're so protective of Dom staying young that we recast him. We didn't do any Robert Downey Jr. at the beginning of Captain America and the Captain America and the Civil War Punch movie. We didn't do that age regression thing. We didn't pull a Tron legacy, right? We just recast because Dom has to be young. It has to be the case. Dom cannot ever seem quite off. But these guys were allowed to get older, and I actually really thought that was charming. And I do believe that the 3 crew, plus sort of like Black Nerd Excellence crew, that 6 character ensemble, I would watch their TV show, I would watch their movies, I would watch their Netflix, whatever. That's a crew I would want to watch, certainly more than the Spy Racer crew. Although when we get to it, guys, the song from this season of Spy Racers is the greatest gift.
Really?
It is.
I haven't watched yet.
It is everything to me, and there's actually a bunch of really cool stuff from last season paying off this season. It's certainly my most kind of having trouble staying focused on it season, but there's a lot of cool promise and a lot better usage of their very large cast. Do I have any other thoughts on F9? The space scene was great. The cookout at the end, I thought they were doing ghosts. Kevo brought up something that made me nearly cry till I died. Guys, Kevo made an astute observation about little Brian's clothing.
Oh my god, he only has one outfit the whole movie, doesn't he? He's definitely wearing the same outfit in
like the beginning and the
Dom's
end and the
weird
dream sequence.
dementia, in his weird dementia dream, and at the end at the racetrack. It's the same outfit for sure.
Yeah.
He's just wearing the same thing. Is it just like he has a bunch of flannel shirts that all look very similar? Because I remember that, but it could be the exact same outfit.
And just that one pair of overalls.
But honestly, on the whole, if you ask me to score the movie, I'd give it a C+ for movie 11 in a franchise, or 10, whatever the fuck it is.
9. It's in the fucking title.
No, but I'm counting that other movie, the
Hobbs and
the
Shaw,
one where
10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the Maori War Dance movie. For the 10th installment, a C+ is kind of really it's a phenomenal score, all things considered, about how much of the movie by the 10th film going to be recycled.
That's fair. Yeah.
Okay, let's play some games. Fuck me.
Well, I mean, first, Kevo, do you have any other thoughts?
Okay.
Your husband and podcast partner and the other guy as a guest on the show. Kevo, do you have thoughts about this movie?
I feel like this one went full cartoon. And I wonder if maybe that's even in part to set up how bombastic they might make the final 2 films.
Joe, any other thoughts? Anything new you caught this time?
Why is Dom using dash GPS in a new Charger in the beginning of the movie when they're going through the minefields, when the car has a touchscreen display in the dash? He put a TomTom GPS on top of his thing, and I was just I can't tell if that's them making him do an old a boomer thing or what, but it was weird. It was the first time I noticed it. Oh, when they're doing the whole superhero thing, this was I'm watching it at home, and he's talking. Tyrese is are we invincible? We can't be beat. In that moment, the clock on the wall just reads 11:11, and I was who thought that was funny? Because somebody definitely set the clock to 11:11 in that shot.
Oh, I saw that in the first time in theaters, and you know what I thought? 11:11, 1 + 1, 2, 2, too fast, too forever. I thought that was a shot at us. I genuinely thought that in the theater the first time we saw that. I'm just like, I'm not going to bring this up.
There's nothing else it can be.
There is something very important that I just discovered. Not only will the director's cut include 7 more minutes of footage, but specifically...
You got the number?
It will be 7 more minutes of footage for the director's cut, and one of the scenes is a hand-picked scene that further explores Cardi B's character.
Oh, hell yeah.
Interesting. I like it.
There is also going to be
Yeah.
a featurette called Justice for Han that has no information about it on the DVD.
According to Collider, the director's cut will feature 7 minutes of new footage. It will include a deepened sibling rivalry between Dom and Jacob, more of Dom's evolution as a father, a never-before-seen flashback featuring some of the franchise's most beloved characters, extended sequences featuring Tej and Roman, an additional Cardi B appearance, and an expanded action climax featuring the infamous Armadillo tank.
Interesting. We've been waiting. I'm glad you found that. We've been waiting because we've been trying to figure out how many extra minutes, and nobody's, there was no definitive answer, so you're the first to report on that. Thank you.
That was just on Collider, but yeah, that's interesting because I looked on Blu-ray.com because we saw it. We've known there's a director's cut for a while, but this is news to us. That's good. So we correct the top of the show, which was incomplete, but now complete. So thank you.
Yeah.
One thing that I saw is that on the postcard that Han sends Dom, when he flips it over, it's almost cut off at the bottom of the screen, but there is a little bit of an address, and it says 1327, and then the handwriting is a little sloppy. So come on, Han, get it better. Adelalia, or maybe it looks like a typo to Adelaide when you Google it, but Adelalia Road, Adelalia Road 90026, which is a Los Angeles zip code. That address is not on Google Maps, but also might be a spelling issue. I don't know. But that was the one thing I was just like, ooh, we know it's 1327, but Adelalia?
Yeah, because we know where the house is, but it's obviously not 1327. So you almost got their actual in-movie address.
And Han does not write Los Angeles, California, USA, just writes 90026 and then it's cut off. But he just skips the city altogether. So
yeah, fuck it. He knows where it's going.
All right, you guys want to play This Ain't No 10-Second Race, a.k.a. Boy, Do We Have a Podcast for You?
Yes.
Yeah.
Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Come and check out our show. Yeah.
So this is where we go on Twitter.com, a.k.a. the Bird app, find the tweet, so on and so forth. We all know the drill by now. So let's review while you look for your tweets and send it to me on Facebook. I'm going to look at last episode we played with Dan Scully on the Fast and Furious 6 episode. I found Katie McDonald at Katie Shea 97. I'm going to say right now, it's all swing and a miss. There's no points once again because, of course, there's not. Yeah. My internalized misogyny surfaces in the way that I love the Fast and Furious movies like nothing else. We said, we're right there with you. We can't wait for Letty to lead her own movie. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Nothing. Joe, you found Eric at Eric Tate. Yes, I'm a cinephile, and yes, I love the Fast and Furious franchise. We exist, and it's him quote tweeting Gumby screens and it's Gumby racing in a car. After we did this one, I followed Gumby screens and I quote tweeted another Gumby. I just think it's a cool, funny account. I'm not particularly fond of Gumby, but there was, them on a date, it looked like cha-cha-cha, and so I did that. And we said, there's literally dozens of us. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Nothing. And then Dan found, interesting. Did he go private or did he went private? So we found Noble at Mr. C.A. Thomas, and I don't know what he said.
I feel like you literally chased this guy off the internet.
It's not the first time, and it won't be the last time.
Yeah, we've done that before.
I found one. I'll read mine if we're not ready.
I'm ready.
I'm getting mine now. Go ahead. I'm still searching.
I found chocolate sauce at Zero Reacts. Vin Diesel saying the movies, and then greater sign. Yeah, that's it. Because I looked at his profile, and his bio is chocolate ain't never hurt nobody. I love Fast and Furious movies. Hashtag Black Lives Matter.
I think that's that SNL sketch where Beck Bennett played Vin Diesel.
Yep.
I love that.
Oh, by the way, when we went to go see Old, M. Night Shyamalan does a little bit of his own version of the movies before Old. That was the first time that I noticed that M. Night Shyamalan is in his own movies, because seeing him before the movie and then seeing him...
You didn't know that?
No, absolutely not. I know that you were going to come for me for saying that, but I did not know it until I saw him, and I was like, oh, that's fucking M. Night Shyamalan, because
he's like Tarantino. He's
I
let
know.
me just put myself in bigger and bigger roles in each movie. In this one, he's in not like a major role, but a pretty big role.
Yeah, he plays a significant role as a background character in this movie. Yeah.
I mean, nothing will ever beat his role in Lady in the Water, where he played a guy who was destined to write the most important book in history. That's about as much hubris as you can get.
There is, and I don't think I said this on here. I think I was just talking about it with other people, maybe Bob, my co-host on How to Win the Lottery, but there was a book about the making of that movie called The Man Who Heard Voices, because he was coming off 3 big movies in The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable and Signs, and they were going to make this movie. This was sort of like his, kind of going weird, and it's just this journalist like on set chronicling how everything had all the potential in the world, and it all came crashing down very hard. So if you want even more behind the scenes of maybe why he thought it was a good idea for him to write the world's most important book or whatever, The Man Who Heard Voices is a really good book about the making of Lady in the Water. All right, Joe, you found yours. Please hit us with it. Oh, yes. I said to Chocolate Sauce, I said, it, like everything Vin Diesel does, is perfect. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Sent. So, go ahead.
This one was kind of inspired by Nico's talk today. It's from AyoDez at AyoDez_TMG. He said, I finally watched F9 and boy, crying emoji. My killers reach space. Laughing, crying emoji, laughing, crying emoji, laughing, crying emoji. We love that scene just as much as you. And boy, do we have a podcast for you. Or something along those lines.
So now, Nico shared 3 tweets. We got a Nico, we got a Kevo, and we got a bonus.
Oh, yeah, they always sneak an extra one in on us. I forgot about that.
But listen,
I
the
love
bonus
it.
is just really good. The bonus is just really good. But here's the thing. It's inappropriate to use for points, and I don't think we should write on it. But that's really your call. And I picked the one for me because I agreed with it. Dick Warlock and the punchable face, hey buddy, I get it, says, went to see F9 at the theater and spent an hour preparing to disconnect with the franchise altogether. Vin Diesel's character has become so dour, so self-serious, not fun. Then they sent Tyrese and Ludacris into space, and I'm 100% back in. Can't wait for F10. Literally word for word my review. So I'm all about that.
So what do you want to say? How do you want to respond to this tweet?
Boy, have we got a podcast for you. This one particular guy who feels this particular exact same way as you, if you're into that kind of shit.
Like 180 characters.
Boy, do we have a podcast for you. This one particular guy who feels this particular way as you, feels the same particular way as you, if you're into that. Yes.
That's amazing.
And Dick's gonna be like, what?
Well, so then I picked a much more normal one for Kevo. Francois Stinson says, F9, I'm giving it a hard 7. Good night. And, I want to make a joke here. I'm going to leave it out, but...
You can make a joke. I mean, I don't know if I'll tweet it out, but I mean, we all know the joke you want to make. So what are we going to say on Twitter, though?
No, just, boy, have we got a hard podcast for shit. I don't know. Boy, have we got a hard podcast for you. I don't know, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Boy, do we have a parentheses hard. I'm putting parentheticals in all of your tweets now because they're all just qualifiers of the tweet we send. So, yeah, go ahead.
Agreed.
Okay.
Catherine Hammond tweeted in the best possible way, my 9-year-old just renamed the Fast and Furious franchise Impossible Cars, as in we showed him the F9 preview, and he said, so this is just Impossible Cars? Followed by, can we watch Captain Underpants? Why do I feel like a failure somehow? Boy, we have a podcast for you, but not for your kid.
I do like that you continue the streak of parentheticals. All 3 of the tweets that we sent as, from you guys, all had parentheticals. So it's all perfect. It all works out wonderfully.
I feel like you can put the "it all works out wonderfully" in parenthesis and you'd be fine.
Oh, Dick Warlock already liked your tweet, Nico. So you have at least 1 point. We will do the full recap next episode, whatever.
I am full genuine right now.
Pony?
Oh yeah, I'm riding it right now. I'm in a good place, man. I just fucking bossed it.
Well, speaking of bossing things, what do you guys want to plug? What do you got going on? You haven't been on in a while. What's new in the world of X and HTML?
HTML has been doing some amazing videos because of Kevo's excellent work.
Thanks.
We have an amazing video channel over on YouTube, X is for Podcast, where you can get exclusive content, and a lot of the content that's the same features that are from the episode are unedited so that they can be as long as we want and have a lot more amazing content, right? And the show is still coming out twice a week, every week, but the show has expanded its narrative perspective. We are now X is for Podcast, Mutants, Magic, and Marvels, where we bring you pretty much everything Marvel each month. We are currently covering 34 monthly titles. We are doing the good Lord's work if, by the good Lord, you mean the X office. That's what we're doing, and we're killing it. HTML is throwing its videos up over on X's for Podcasts YouTube, and everybody's having a good time.
And speaking of having a good time, we will keep the good time going. Next episode will be with these same two gentlemen talking about Fast and Furious Spy Racers South Pacific, another season of Spy Racers. So we're going to keep this going in, I think, 3 days as this comes out. So stay tuned for that, for lots of talk about cartoons and probably Yoka, I would assume.
Guys,
I don't know.
oh,
TBD.
man.
And Tyler Posey being adorable.
Yeah, this is absolutely T-Po's best season.
Tony Toretto was finally at the forefront of the show once again.
No, not what I said.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
Guys, I've made so many Spy Racers Never Ends jokes, so I'm just get mentally prepared for those.
I will say it is a season where there is a lot more divvying up the cast than previous seasons. It's not just one person here, one person there. It's a very different play out.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, that is our next episode, but then our next full episode, 1 week from today, is a patron pick. Haley Gerbies has us picking a movie that I've never seen, I'd never even heard of before she picked. I think it's about motorcycles, I think. Maybe not. The World's Fastest Indian, coming at you next Tuesday. So we got Spy Racers South Pacific this Friday, probably, and then The World's Fastest Indian in 1 week. So thank you to Haley for supporting us on Patreon and for picking that movie. But Nico, Kevo, thank you
Just glad to have
for
you back,
joining
guys.
us once again on the show.
And we can't wait to do it twice again next week.
Of course. For all things Too Fast, Too Forever, you go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/TooFast2Forever, or at TooFast2Forever on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon page. Pick movies for us to watch, like Haley's going to do for next week at TooFast2Forever.com. Check out our store, TooFast2Forever.shop. Listen. We got closing in on 200 episodes.
Oh, we're getting close. That's
this
right.
nonsense.
Woo!
So, plenty of episodes. We got like 15, or no, maybe more. I don't know. We have a lot with Nico and Kevo because we did everything we could possibly do. We did like 3 seasons of 5 seasons now. We did the video game.
Yep.
We did every movie with them. So if you like them,
I'm legitimately good to do a second lap. Kevo's probably like, I'm good, but I'm
I think also I'm good, but also thank you. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too.
And that was Kevo, Risse, and Nico Vasilo of Husbands Talking More or Less.
who aren't doing a second lap.
All right, calm down, bitch. Calm down.
When we see you